Chapter 4 Industrial Reforms. Youzan had two industrial policies. 1. Leave no wasted land in his territory. And 2. Have no laziness among his people. With these policies, Youzan believed he could make his land produce 300,000 koku instead of 150,000. He encouraged agriculture with his whole heart. By turning his samurai into farmers in times of peace, Youzan recovered thousands of acres from wilderness. He ordered lacquer trees to be planted. Every samurai family was required to plant 15 trees, every family other than samurai 5, and every temple 20. For every one tree that was planted above the required number, he gave a reward of 20 cents. And for everyone that died and was not replaced, a fine of the same sum was charged. Thus, over 1 million trees of these valuable trees were planted within a very short time. Future generations benefit from this greatly. But Youzan's chief aim was to make his territory one of the greatest silk-producing districts. To fund this, he again cut his family expenses. After 50 long years, the few thousand mulberry bushes he planted grew and multiplied, and his whole territory had no more space left for them. The Yonezawa silk brand is now the best in the market. Youzan also turned his barren territory into a fertile one with irrigation systems. The poorest daimyo was able to build two of the most remarkable engineering works ever undertaken in old Japan. One was a network of viaducts that transported water for 28 miles. The other was a water tunnel of 1,200 feet. After the completion, fertility flowed into Youzan's territory. To this day, Yonezawa is the only northern province that does not suffer from drought. Youzan also imported better horses into his district, stocked ponds and streams with fish and eels, invited miners and weavers from other provinces, and developed all the resources of his territory. By turning the lazy among his people into hard workers, he turned the poorest district in the land into an example of productivity. Chapter 5 Social and Moral Reforms. One beautiful feature of Oriental knowledge is that economy is considered a part of morality. Virtue leads to wealth, much like a healthy tree bears fruit. This is perhaps the best aspect of all of Youzan's reforms. His main goal was to make his people virtuous. He didn't believe in wealth for its own sake, but rather, wealth was necessary to form a civilization. Some years after he took office, he reopened the clan school. He named it Kyojokan, or the Institute for the Promotion of Humility. One of the era's greatest scholars,細井平洲, Youzan's own tutor, was made the headmaster. The school provided many free scholarships to enable the poor to get a high-class education. No good administration is complete without a way to heal the sick. Here too, Youzan had a solution. He started a medical school and opened a botanical garden to grow medical plants. He also trained several doctors in European medicine, so 50 years before Perry landed in the Bay of Edo, one of the mountain districts of Japan had already adopted Western medicine. I'll mention two of Youzan's social reforms. He banned prostitution for the physical and moral health of his people, and he instituted Goju Kumai, or the associations of 5 and 10. Here are its principles in Youzan's own words. 1. members of the Association of Five should always be in contact with each other and share the joys and sorrows of each as two members of a family. 2. Members of the Association of 10 should have frequent contact with each other and participate in the affairs of each like blood relatives. 3. The people of a village should be like friends who help and serve one another. 4. The villages that make up the Association of Five Villages should help one another in times of trouble like true neighbors. 5. Be kind to each other. Let any poor, sick, or otherwise disabled person be cared for by his Association of Five. If the association doesn't have the power to help, let his Association of 10 help. If his case is more than the latter can do for him, let his village help. If some disaster strikes one village so that it cannot help, then 4 of the Association of 5 villages should help. 6. To encourage the good, to teach the bad, and to help each person succeed. This is why these associations are formed. If a person neglects his farm or indulges in luxuries, he should be warned first by his Association of 5 and then of 10. If he doesn't change his ways, he must be reported to the village authority and receive due treatment. February, 2nd year of Kiowa, 1802. With his policy, bishops, schools, various instructions, and above all, with his own example, Youzan molded his clan of 150,000 people to his ideals. We can see how far he succeeded by the following account given by a well-known scholar,倉成竜渚, who went to Yonezawa to observe how the saint ruled his people. In Yonezawa, there is something called the labor market. On the roadside, shoes, fruits, and other items are put out for sale with their prices marketed on them. Their owners are absent. People go there, leave the correct amount of money, take the purchased item, and pass on. Nobody steals at these markets. In Lord Youzan's government, the highest officials are usually the poorest. Nozaki Rokurobei is his prime minister, and he's the chief's favorite official. Yet, as I observed his ways of living, his food and clothing reminded me of those of a poor student. These are not stories from some mythical land. These were all realities only 100 years ago in Japan. Chapter 6. The Man Himself. It is not fashionable these days to make gods out of our heroes, but there is no danger of this with Youzan. Of all men, Youzan was unique because he was aware of his own flaws. He was truly human in the full sense of the term. Here's one story, for example. One day, while Youzan was listening to his teacher's lecture, he was given a list of his subjects who were to be rewarded for good deeds and services. Youzan looked at this list and put it away until the lecture was over. But when it ended, Youzan forgot about the list. One of his attendants scolded him for this carelessness that was unforgivable in a load of thousands. Youzan was so ashamed that he sat the whole night weeping. The next morning, he could not touch his breakfast because of his shame. He could only eat when his teacher came and forgave him, quoting a lesson from Confucius. We can see Youzan's integrity most clearly in his home and domestic relations. We know he was frugal. He wore simple clothing and ate little. He never replaced his old tatami if he could fix it. He was often seen patching up torn mats by pasting papers over them. He believed in the old saying, "A man rules his family only if he can rule himself." Only a man whose house is in order can rule a nation. He was a kind father who made great efforts to educate his children. He understood that in the hereditary system of feudalism, his people's future happiness depended on the kind of world his sons would be. So he taught his boys charity and sacrifice. Here, as an example of how he educated his children, is one of many beautiful letters he wrote to his granddaughters. It was written to his eldest granddaughter when she was leaving her parents' mansion to join her husband in the city. A person's three most important influences are his parents, his teacher, and his master. We owe our lives to our parents. Never forget that your body is a part of theirs. So, in service to them, always act sincerely and honestly. This way, even if you make mistakes, you are never far from doing good. You may think ruling a dominion is an impossible task, but know that the root of a dominion is its orderly families, and there can be no orderly families without the right relationship between wife and husband. Because you are a young woman, it is natural that you will want to dress nicely, but don't forget the frugal habits that you have been taught. Devote yourself to silkworm raising and other womanly work. At the same time, feed your mind with beautiful poetry. Do not simply seek entertainment, for the purpose of all knowledge is to lead us to virtue. Therefore, learn things that will teach you to do good and avoid evil. Your husband should teach the people as the father, and you should love them as the mother. Then they honor you both as their parents. What joy is better than this? This hard-working man lived for 70 years. He achieved most of his hopes and goals. He firmly established his clan, supplied his people well, and revived his whole territory. And so, Youzan ended his life in peace. On March 19th of the 5th year of Bunsei, 1822, he passed away. This is what was written about his death. The people wept as if they had lost their grandparents. No pen could describe the sadness. On the day of his funeral, tens of thousands of mourners filled the roads. With heads bowed, they wailed and wept. Even the mountains, rivers, and plants joined in sorrow.